Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, African vaccines for Africa. Vaccine doses produced by a plant in South Africa will no longer be exported to Europe after the intervention of South Africa's government. Also, in Ivory Coast, a TV presenter who laughed as he invited a rapist to show on air in detail how he brutalised women has been convicted of condoning rape and given a suspended sentence. And fisherwomen in Tanzania say that they are often faced with a difficult choice as fishermen force them to have sex before they can get their share of the catch. The exploitation may be linked to higher rates of HIV cases in communities around Lake Tanganyika. But first, a South African plant that produces COVID-19 vaccines will no longer send its doses to Europe. Drug manufacturer Aspen assembles jabs for Johnson & Johnson, but the arrangement that required them to then be exported out of Africa has been suspended. Its stock will now be distributed on the continent where it's made. Vaccine supply is a huge concern in Africa, where immunisation campaigns are far behind other richer regions of the world. The WHO has warned that most African countries are likely to miss the crucial target of vaccinating the most vulnerable 10% of their population by the end of the month. Our correspondent Nadine Theron joins us now with more. Nadine, first of all, do you have any more details about exactly what's changed and what it means for the continent's vaccine supply?
Yes, Georgia, it's only good news here for Africa's race to vaccinate 10% of its population, although it seems unlikely because only less than 2% of Africa's population has been vaccinated by now. What will change now is that not only will Africa halt all vaccine exports out of the continent, but it will also return those vaccine shots, less than 20 million shots that were exported from South Africa's Aspen plant to Europe earlier this year. Those will have to be returned. And the other good news is that South Africa's Aspen Pharmacare is in talks with Johnson & Johnson to manufacture the vaccine in its Aspen plant here by itself. At this stage, it was only packaging Johnson & Johnson's vaccines, and now we will maybe be able to manufacture it here on the continent and only distribute to the rest of the continent.
Now, why is this happening now? What led up to the negotiations?
Well, there's been international outrage expressed from African leaders to the World Health Organization's Director General, who said he was stunned by the fact that Europe was importing vaccines from Africa. Well, you know, by the end of the year, 70% of Europe's adults will be vaccinated, while we know Africa's at less than 2%. And many African leaders accused Europe of using colonial tactics. Some even said it's a sort of vaccine apartheid of these wealthier countries to hoard vaccines, while Africa's, you know, again, at the shorter end.
And there was also on Thursday some criticism from the African Union of the international community in that it was accused of letting the continent down with the COVAX scheme. What are the African Union's concerns on that front?
Well, the COVAX has simply not delivered what it aimed to deliver. The plans were that it would have delivered over 640 million doses of the vaccine by now, but it's only delivered 163 million doses. And there's been many issues with distributing the vaccine on the African continent, not just in the supply of doses, which has fallen far behind on. And the African Union seemed to be doing better, actually, in doing its own negotiations by buying about 440 million doses from Johnson & Johnson that it will be received, that it's already receiving, and more is on the way.
Thanks very much. Nadine Theron there for us in Cape Town. Well, in other news, South Africa has said that it cannot host Afghan refugees because it's already looking after a substantial number of others. Pretoria had been considering a request to take in some Afghans who'd fled to Pakistan to escape the Taliban takeover that came as the US military withdrew from Afghanistan. South Africa has one of the world's most progressive refugee policies and saw more than 1 million people apply for asylum between 2007 and 2015. However, many are still waiting for a decision on their case, and the processing of applications has been slowed down by the pandemic. South Africa said that it's managed to evacuate 35 of 36 of its nationals from Afghanistan. Uganda has accommodated 51 Afghan evacuees. Tanzanian police say that a man who fatally shot 3 officers and a security guard in Dar es Salaam last month was a terrorist. On August 25th, Hamza Mohammed opened fire on police in the streets before taking their guns and continuing the attack at the French embassy. He was eventually shot dead by security forces. Investigators say that he'd been accessing extremist content on social media. DR Congo's environment ministries confirmed that 12 people died and 4,400 fell ill in the south of the country after rivers in the province of Kasai were polluted by leaks from an Angolan diamond mine. Heavy metals seeped into the Shikapa and Kasai rivers in the center of DR Congo earlier this year. People living along their banks got sick and animals began turning up dead after the river's waters turned red earlier this month. The government said that it's planning on asking for reparations. Well, women's rights activists in Ivory Coast are hailing a rare victory in their bid to change attitudes to sexual abuse in the country. A TV presenter who laughed as he invited a rapist to show in detail how he brutalised women has been convicted of condoning rape, given a suspended sentence and fined. Yves de Melba has also been barred from hosting the Miss Ivory Coast beauty pageant, which is due to be held this weekend. Our correspondent reports.
It's 8 a.m. at NCI's headquarters. In the wake of a recent scandal, a dozen angry protesters rally outside of the private Ivorian TV channel. It's been nearly 2 days since a live primetime broadcast sparked outrage in the country. In it, a guest used props to act out how he would rape a woman. The talk show host who initiated the stage rape has since been suspended by the network and given a 12-month suspended prison sentence for glorifying rape. Women's rights organizations are still pushing for more drastic measures from NCI.
It took an entire editorial team to prepare the show. There are more people involved. We want justice. We want them fired.
I was raped when I was 5 years old. To see that what I've been through, that what many women in Ivory Coast have been through, is subject to entertainment, disgusted me.
These are the images that sparked the outcry. They show Yves Dembela asking his guest, an allegedly repentant rapist, to explain how he used to approach his victims. He proceeds to use a mannequin to demonstrate his methods as other guests and the audience watch and cheer. Hours later, the footage had gone viral, sparking angry reactions and conversations around rape culture in the media and the Ivorian society. For the League of Defense of Women's Rights, it's crucial to keep the momentum going. The organization has spent years lobbying for rape victims to be given more support.
Victims trust us, and what do we tell them? That the medical certificate isn't free, that justice takes time, that we can't give them shelter. What the medical certificate does is provide evidence of abuse. If I'm sexually assaulted, want to file a complaint, and ask how much it will cost me, they tell me it's $90. The medical certificate should be free of charge to encourage victims to do it as early as possible.
The Ministry of Justice recorded 481 cases of rape convictions from 2018 to 2019, but most sexual assaults remain unreported in Ivory Coast.
Well, poor women who sell fish in Tanzania say that they're often pressured by fishermen to have sex if they want a share of their catch. The exploitation may be linked to higher rates of HIV cases in communities around the lakes. Nicolas Chemer has this report from the shores of Lake Tanganyika in the town of Kigoma.
These women sell sardines on the shores of Lake Tanganyika. Traditionally, they are involved in the selling, not the fishing. They often lack the money to buy the fish in the first place. So over the years, a practice known as jaboya has developed. It means sex for fish, and it takes place in many areas of the Great Lakes region. To survive, women fish vendors are left with no option but to trade sex with the fishermen for a share of their catch.
Because we have no money, we sell our bodies to get a cheap price. If we refuse, the fishermen sell the fish at a high price.
One consequence of this practice is that HIV compared with national averages is much more prevalent around the lakeshore. Fishermen here don't deny that the jaboya practice exists.
It happens. A woman fish vendor will build relationships with fishermen so that she can get fish at a cheaper price.
Activists say one solution would be to increase the number of fish farms. They offer women a chance to earn money without depending on catches from the lake.
Now, one of Rwanda's most famous rappers has died in police custody in Kigali. 33-year-old Jay Polly had been held on drugs charges for 8 months before he was rushed to hospital early on Thursday. Authorities say that Polly, whose real name was Joshua Tuyishime, had drunk a mix of aftershave, water and sugar before falling ill. He's the second detained musician to die in mysterious circumstances in detention in less than 2 years. Last year, Kizito Mihigo, whose music was banned by the government, was found dead in his cell just days after trying to flee the country. Fans of Polly on Thursday are paying tribute to his work. Thanks for watching Eye on Africa. We'll leave you with the sounds of one of his songs. Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care.